Welcome to Eternal Paradigm. Together, we're uncovering the human experience and exploring physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual stories with me, your host, Amy Ravel. Hi, welcome to this episode of Eternal Paradigm. I hope you're enjoying your journey to find you. You will hear from all the episodes that the aim of the podcast is really to share people's experiences and journeys, but also to share tips and tricks that they've learned along the way to help them get to where they are now. Sometimes just because you're in this place now, that's not the end of your journey. Often it's just the beginning. My guest in this episode is an amazing energy who has been learning so much and relearning about herself. Her eyes have been opened to all of her life experiences, why they've happened, and she got to a point in life where I guess you could say things were normal from the outside. She was in a good job, she was doing well. Then something changed at work. At that time, what she didn't realize is that was, I guess, the tip of the iceberg. It was just one small thing and it got bad. My guest, who's affectionately known to all her friends as Yaya, is going to share her story with you of how a workplace trigger resulted in her reviewing every single one of her life experiences and where she has been, what her goals are, what her ambitions are, and how she has really worked on finding her true self every day. She's living in this almost dreamlike state because she's realized the value of herself and how her lived experiences have helped shape a lot of what was happening around her. Now, her aim is to share that with others who are not able to get the same level of support and help that she was able to get. This episode is actually quite close to my heart. I haven't actually had the pleasure of meeting Yaya in person. We've only been contacting each other via, I guess, social media platforms and virtual meetings. But I can truly tell you that I just found this conversation with her something that I just felt so close to. Many of you may also feel the same. And you know what? It's okay. Just like I've learned and Yaya has learned and you're learning too, that it's okay to face your fears, that it's okay to accept your emotions, the good ones, the bad ones, and even the ugly ones, and that it's okay to be open and honest, because once you start doing that with yourself, everything else just falls into place. Yaya likens herself to a lotus flower, and for those of you who are interested in Eastern spiritual texts will understand the significance of the lotus flower and why it has been quoted in these texts, the significance of it. And now her aim is to be that lotus flower, to strive to be her true self. It's amazing listening to her story. I'd like to introduce her.
Hi, Yumi. My name is Janet Lara, but most of my friends refer to me as Yaya, which is a nickname that was given to me back in the 90s and it kind of stuck throughout the years. So,
In the 90s. I love that.
right.
So,
I mean, I have nicknames that were given to me as a kid, by my family, but Yaya was one that was given by a friend and it just kind of picked up on it and it stuck. I am located in Long Beach, California.
Tell me about yourself.
How I would describe myself, I think I would say I'm a driven person. I'm meticulous, I'm flexible, I am joyful, playful, persistent. I'm a very empathetic person. Like I always feel for some reason what the other person is feeling, whether it's joy or grief. I can't meet the other person halfway with their feelings. And I have a passion for learning for myself. And once I learn something, I have a passion for teaching others. My upbringing was like a normal childhood upbringing would be, I guess you could say, with the mom and the dad and a loving home and support. It was more like I come from a broken family. My dad abandoned me at a very early age. I only had my mom for a while, but even having her, I also felt abandoned at times because she was always working or having to hold two jobs to provide for me and herself. I didn't really have, I think, the guidance and support that I needed that comes from parents. So life put me through a lot of rough moments where at one point, believe it or not, I questioned myself. Why am I here for? Why do I even exist? If the people that brought me onto this world don't even care enough, why am I here? And I struggled with that for quite a few times. My high school years were really rough. And it's funny to talk about my high school years because when I talk about them, I could say my high school years in school, going to class, being with my friends were like the happiest times of my life. High school for me in school was a bliss. However, when the bell rang and it was time to be off school, those high school years were a nightmare. They were a very dark era in my time where, like I said, at that point, I was just, why am I here? And I tried figuring that out for myself, but sometimes when you are stuck in the muck of things, you really can't figure out things for yourself until somebody else is teaching you or showing you. And for me, I kind of just moved on past that. I focused on just pretty much living, not focusing so much on myself, I guess you could say. I started to just focus on other people. Like I got involved in relationships and they became my focus. I was always wanting to tend to them, make sure everybody else was happy, just wanting to please other people. Then fast forward to now at a more mature age where I'm at now, there was a day I was at work and an incident happened at work and I felt triggered. I came home and I couldn't shake off that feeling of like, I had this feeling of hurt. I had this feeling of anger. I couldn't really pinpoint why work had triggered me in such a way where I couldn't pull myself back together. So at that point, now being, like I said, an adult, I actually seek for professional help. I called my doctor, I described what I was feeling, and she sent me to talk to a therapist. And this wasn't my first therapist that I spoke to. I had spoken to another therapist back in my high school years back. But back then, in the mentality I was then, I don't think I was ready to open up. It was pretty much that. I wasn't ready to open up to why I was there. Fast forward to where I am now. When I seek the help this time around, I was ready to open up about everything that had affected me that I didn't know was affecting my way of life. So when I seeked for that, I started to learn a lot more, not just about myself, but about life in general. And once I got to a point where I started to understand why I would react a certain way or why certain things would trigger me, then I started to understand the connection of your upbringing. There's a lot of things that you go through as a child and you don't know you're picking up on all these things until you're being affected by them in some way or another, which is what happened to me. So that's what I did. I seek the help. I went open-minded and willingly just wanting to learn from somebody else that I knew was knowledgeable about the brain and how it worked, and somebody that could help me process my emotions or help me realize when triggers were happening. I didn't even know what triggers were at one point in my life. And now I can understand them. When I feel something, I'm like, okay, wait, why am I feeling this? I can go back and question why I'm feeling and then process the feeling and move forward from there. Where before, I would just go on the feeling and live off the feeling and respond to the feeling. So my whole, this is where Red Cap Gal came into effect, was because months later, after being through, my sessions and learning and reading and being surrounded by other people that weren't not only in the same boat as I was, but also being surrounded by other people that has so much knowledge. It opened my eyes. It kind of took this veil off my face and it made me feel awake. And now that I'm in a different place, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, but I'm in a much better place now than I was before. And now that I'm here, I just want to reach out to the people that feel like I felt at one point in my life, which was unloved, unprotected, lost, with with no desire or willingness to live. I realized that there's a lot of people out there that just need support. They need to support some encouragement, motivation. They need to know that they matter, that they're important, that regardless of whether you were brought into this world and raised by people that couldn't love and protect you, you get to a point where you learn to love and protect yourself. And that's where I'm at now. And that is like what I thrive for. For anybody that feels lost, just to realize that everything that they need to succeed in life already exists within them. They just have to believe that it's there. And I think that's what I want to be. I want to be that cheerleader. I want to be that voice in their ear that says, you got this. Don't give up. I believe in you. I didn't give up on myself. And here I am. And believe me, there were plenty of times where I wanted to give up. And when I say give up, I mean like give up, like tap out and put me 6 feet under. I'm good. You know, that's deep. For somebody to be at that level, that person is really hurting. That person really needs just somebody to have compassion for them. And realizing what I needed makes me aware of how I can help others that might need it. Because I've been there, I've been through it. And by the love and the glory of God, I'm still here. And like I said, I'm in a better place. And now that I'm here, I just want to speak and inspire, because it always breaks my heart to hear that the suicidal rates are so high. It always breaks my heart to hear that people just gave up because they didn't have a mom to support them or to motivate them, or they didn't have their father there to like push them through. It's like, don't give up because you don't have the people that you think are supposed to push you around are not there. Don't give up. Just be for yourself. Find the worth in yourself. You, like I always think this, you know, even for myself, I had to tell myself, I was born a miracle. I am a miracle. You're me, you're a miracle. Everybody that's born is a miracle of life. And we are born perfect because God creates nothing but perfection. However, it is up to the people that brings us up, that molds us. And unfortunately, sometimes the people around us aren't really the great candidates to mold a strong individual. But that's okay, because as you grow up, you meet people, and then you start to learn from other people, and all of a sudden you become awake, and then you realize, wait, I don't need my mom's love and protection. I don't need my father's words of encouragement. I wish I had them. I'm not gonna lie. There's at times I felt this deep void in me, but now I know that I can't feel that void for myself. Why? Because I have learned to love myself. I have learned to accept myself. I've learned that I'm a fighter. You know, I don't give up. I didn't give up. I became brave in moments of when I was feeling scared. A lot of times I just prayed and I went for it. And oftentimes I said, God, I'm in your hands. You lead the way, because I don't want to, like when I had this conversation when I was praying, you know, I felt really guilty with the thought of wanting to give up on life, because I was like, how can I do that to him, to you, to you know, you brought me here and I just want to tap out? Why? I can't do that. That's not my purpose for here. That's not my reason to be here. Now I'm realizing I had to go through a lot of mess and a lot of heartbreak and a lot of hurt to become that person that can understand the other person that's going through the same. Because the only reason you can really meet the other person on the same level and understand them, it's when you yourself have walked the same path. And that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much for that absolutely open and extremely emotional and difficult recollection of so much stuff. Can you tell me a little bit more about Red Cap Girl? Is that the platform that you see yourself using to get that message out there? It has a very inspirational outlook. I'd love to know more if you could share more on that.
Sure. Well, thank you for saying that, because when I first started that account, I was starting with the thought of not about me. I was making that account about anybody that needed to hear the words of inspiration. So for you to tell me that you find it inspiring really means a lot, because I have followers, but they don't really reach out to me. And I just put the message there because it doesn't matter how many followers I have. If I could reach one person, then I'm good with that, you know. But Red Cap Gal came into effect, like I said, months after I was personally going through my own healing process. I came to realize there was this one time I was in a group therapy session, and I looked around and it was a variety of people, from younger people than me, middle age to older. There was like young middle and elderly people there. And we all had the same issues per se. You know, we were all kind of feeling at some point worthless, like why are we here? And I realized once I began to feel better, I realized how important it is for people to know the things that I had learned. Like I said, you can't know what you're not taught, and you can't learn what you're not shown. So people walk around lost, not knowing that there's more to life. And when I thought of Red Cap Gal, I told my husband, I want to make this account because a lot of people that need help probably don't know they need help. A lot of people that need help won't probably seek the help because there's a stigma attached to this whole mental illness thing, you know? And I know that a lot of people aren't going to go and seek that help just because they don't want to be tagged in a certain label or what have you. And also, insurance. I mean, it costs money to be treated. There's a lot of people that I know don't have the insurance. And for me, it was not fair to learn so much and realize that others weren't getting the same knowledge because they didn't have the funds, because they didn't have the time, because they didn't know. I was like, you know, everything that I learned should be taught in school. Like, seriously, intelligence is important, but emotional intelligence is also important. And it goes hand in hand. So my whole thought about this was just that, being that teacher or that educator or that outlet that people can come to and learn without having to sit in a session with anybody, without having to pay a copay or insurance, nothing. It's like it's a free platform for you to learn what I've learned and to see my experiences, to see where I come from. So that was my whole outlet with Red Cap Gal. I made that to touch the people, to touch others. I want to impact the life, especially the ones that feel hopeless. I don't want anybody to feel like their life is worth nothing, because anybody that's living is worth something, and they have greatness in them. It's just been buried. It just hasn't been discovered. It hasn't been unleashed. And I want to tell you, here is your shovel. Bury yourself out. You got this. I know that maybe you felt that you don't have this because nobody's telling you you got this, you can do it. Maybe you're being told the opposite. Why do you keep trying? Just give up already. Don't try. It's not gonna work out for you. You know what? I realize it doesn't matter what other people tell you. What matters is what you tell yourself, because you yourself are predicting your own story with your own vocabulary. How you speak is how you project your life to be. And my whole point with Red Cap Gal was just to speak to people, to inspire people, to make that a platform where people can come, and you don't have to have insurance. You don't have to, be in a group. You don't have to, nothing. You can be in the comfort of your own home and still learn things that I learned from professionals, but from sitting in a group setting. Like, I've done the work for you guys. All you have to do is now go to my page and read what I've learned. And hopefully it can also touch and inspire other people to be like, hey, if she managed to get to where she is, then maybe I can too. And it's not a maybe you can too, it's a yes, you can too.
Beautifully explained. It's like you said, social inequality, financial challenges does make it difficult. And when you're in that situation, it's hard to see your way out, right? So it's a great way of using social media, because usually it has such a irritating, kind of platform. Social media generally has quite a negative.
Right.
I have another question. What is next for Yaya? Where are you at now, and where do you see yourself going?
Okay, so I had told you work had been my trigger. Like, something happened at work and it triggered me. And I had been with this company for, maybe over 18 years now. I've been with this company a long time. However, about 3 years ago, I got a new management team. And this new management team really, how do I put into my word? They're more business minded. They're not people focused. Yeah. They're very, I know the word tyrant is kind of harsh, but that's sometimes how I see them. They're just like, do as I say. They're not kind. They're very it's become a difficult place to be at. And it's heartbreaking for me because I like what I do. I've been there for a long time. And it's just sad that these two new people got there and are changing things. And there's been a disconnect ever since. That time, like I said, I was triggered. I was triggered enough to the point, you know what I mean, when I went to the doctor, they actually put me out to tend to myself. They're like, okay, you really need to focus on your well-being right now. We're going to put you off work for a bit and get you on the right track to wellness. So that's what I did. And now, recently, I've gone back to work and nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed has been me and the way I think and the way I process. But as far as work goes, they're still the same. They are still giving everybody a hard time about just doing their job. So being back there recently made me realize maybe it's time for me to really focus on some of my passions. And one of my passions, one thing that I've always wanted to do was be an entrepreneur. I want to just run my own life, financially, emotionally, mentally, everything. I don't want to depend on somebody else's schedule anymore. So right now I'm still there, but what I have for the future is that I am working on breaking free from what we call corporate America so that I can be successful and independent on my own. So I have things moving forward for myself right now. That's one of my main focus is just that. How can I make that dream a reality? So that's kind of where I'm going right now. I'm focusing on some of my dreams because I feel like I need to fulfill them so that I can truly say I am living the way I want to live. Right now, I feel proud of where I am now and the things that I have accomplished, but I know that I still have a lot more to do. And definitely being able to be financially independent without having somebody else control my life will be a major stepping point for me. So that's one of my goals right now, to stay focused on that and to try to just break free from anything that ties me to anything that I don't want to be tied to.
That's incredibly brave. I mean, to go back to work where you had the triggers, I know many people haven't been able to do that. That in itself is incredibly courageous. But like you said, is you've kind of set a foundation for yourself, and what they're not going to stop, right?
It's not stopping. Like right now, I feel like I'm on the go, and it's like you're either on board with me or you're gonna watch me.
Yeah.
But I'm going, I'm moving. I have, like I said, I have a clear vision of what I want now. You know, I want to chase my dreams. I want to fulfill my destiny. And in the process, I want to be a positive impact on others. It's not just like what I want, because for me, fulfilling my destiny isn't just about fulfilling my own dreams. For me, fulfilling my destiny is about just knowing that I've impacted others. It's just that if I can just reach out to others, it's just so sad, you know what I mean, to know that there's many more of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of me's out there, and I want to find them and be like, turn that leaf around. You got it. And it all starts with the way we think. It is so amazing how strong and powerful our thoughts and our brain is. It's like it's mind blowing, because when you're having a bad day, and I have put it to use, when I'm having a bad day where I'm just like angry or I'm hurt, I'm sad, I go back to my teachings. I'm like, okay, what have I learned? What do I need? Why am I first I question myself, why are you feeling this? Because every time you're angry, there's an underlying feeling related to that anger. Anger is just kind of like a cover up for the hurt you're feeling, a cover up for the disappointment you're feeling. There's always something underlying that anger. So now when I find myself being kind of angry, I question that. Why am I feeling this? And oftentimes it helps me work through that. But also just the thought, I've learned this thing. I don't know if you ever heard of something called the grounding technique.
Yep. Do that every day. Sometimes more than 6 times a day. Sometimes.
Well, when I first learned it, I was just like, wow, this is quite powerful. This is really good, because all you need to do is like, you're feeling right now, you're going through a really messed up emotion, but let's put that emotion aside and ground yourself. So look around. What are the 5 things you see? And as your mind starts focusing, your eyes start focusing on different objects, your mind kind of starts changing the way you're feeling. And by the time you get to the one thing you taste, you're like, okay, I'm not so angry anymore. Or you're able to move forward with a better decision conversation or resolution than you would have been if you had stayed at that angry level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes. And you mentioned earlier that these are basic things that actually should be taught in schools. And I think grounding is definitely one of them.
Definitely.
Yeah. So,
Exactly. Yeah, it's
yes,
really
yeah.
important too. Also, another thing that I wish we would have been taught or it could be taught is learning to express your emotions. Oftentimes, when you're just like you want to cry over something, I know, for me, I'm a very emotional person. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I can cry when I'm angry. I cry when I'm frustrated. So
Yeah.
oftentimes, a lot of people are like, "Why are you crying? Why are you such a crier?" And it's like it's me, it's my emotion. And before I used to question that. Why am I such a crying baby? Why do I cry? I shouldn't be crying. I shouldn't. And it's like, no, now I'm like, you know what? Crying is my way to vent, whatever it is. It's my outlet. And it's okay if you see me as a crier. I don't care anymore because when I release those tears, whether if it's tears of anger or frustration, I'm releasing all that bad to allow more good to come in. So I need to push something out to allow something to come in. So now I see my tears as powerful. I no longer see them as weak. And, it's who I am. It represents me. Not everybody can say, I'm empathetic. I can feel what you're feeling. Not everybody can say that. But you know what? Maybe that's something that I have. I don't know if it's something that's just been developed in me, if I was born with it, but I feel, like I said, other people's emotions. I can feel them. And sometimes they don't even have to say anything. If I get close to them, I kind of sense how they're feeling. I kind of sense what they're feeling. And if I sense that they're kind of down or feeling a little unmotivated, I don't have to dig into them and be like, tell me what's wrong with you. Why are you feeling like this? I don't have to do that. All I have to do is crack a joke, make them smile, put something else in their mind. Ask them, what do you think of this? How did this beautiful flower smell? And make them smell something different. What am I doing there? I'm changing something in their mind without them even knowing it.
Yeah,
Which is what I've learned. This is what I've learned. I learned that the mind is really in your control. A lot of people think our minds control us, but no, we are the controllers of our mind. We dictate what we want our mind to think. And if you stay focused on just, the negative and the bad, then you stay in that and you feel the negative and the bad and the ugliness. But when you make that shift and you say, okay, I'm no longer going to look down at the floor. Let me put my eyes up. Let me see up. Then you begin to see the clouds and the sun and the birds flying. There was this time I was feeling very down. And this is already within my own treatment, And I think I was feeling down because going to treatment makes you face your monsters, your demons. It puts it all out there and you have no choice but to face them. And I remember I came home and I was feeling it. I was hurt. I was just feeling it. And I stepped outside to ground myself. I love walking outside in my yard barefoot. That's how I love grounding myself, just feeling the soil in my feet and feeling the wind on me. And as I'm out there, I began to cry and just started to let it go. And all of a sudden, I started paying attention to the sounds around me. And it was beautiful because there were birds flying and singing all around me. And it made me look around and be like, wow, yeah, I'm feeling this right now, but there's still a lot of joy and things to be thankful for. And in that moment, I was thankful that my ears could hear such beautiful music coming from such precious little creatures. And once I shifted that thought, I just started focusing on the good of that moment, and it helped me process that feeling of heaviness that I came home with.
Thank you for sharing that. Can I also add, in relation to your crying, I cried from the beginning when you started speaking and talking about your experiences. It's just that you couldn't see me. I was crying. I totally get it. And,
so happy to hear that. I'm so happy that I'm able to connect with people in this way.
Yeah.
I just thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm a crier as well. I cry a lot.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and the way that you explain it and how you've managed to because the outside voices, right? They change your dialogue with yourself. don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They significantly impact that. So you're right. You have to shift that for yourself, because everyone else is going to talk.
Right.
You can't stop
Yeah.
them, but you can take stock of yourself.
Exactly. And as long as you realize that the only voice that matters is the voice that you speak to yourself. It's the only voice that matters. It's yours. Because everybody's going to talk. Whether you share your dreams with others or not, people are going to always talk. And oftentimes that's what keeps us down, because we begin to believe what other people are telling us. We begin to see that maybe we're not worth it. Maybe they're right. Maybe, my parents, maybe they did abandon me for a reason. But it's not now I kind of chuckle at that thought, because it had nothing to do with me, but everything to do with them. I just didn't realize that then. I realize it now, and I have managed, to forgive them, because I also have learned that you can't carry that and still be happy. You have to kind of let go of the things that hurt you completely. And you have to be able to forgive the people that have wronged you, that have hurt you. Even if you never hear "I'm sorry" from them, you have to turn around and in a moment of solitude, in a moment of prayer, just be, "Dad, I forgive you for abandoning me at such a young age. I forgive you. Mom, I forgive you for not putting me first, for not loving me and protecting me. I forgive you." There was a time when I couldn't say that. I felt like, no, why did you leave me? Why did you abandon me? Why didn't you protect me? Why? I felt like a little kid throwing a tantrum, like, why? I didn't deserve any of this. But like I said, now I realize it was just part of my journey. And we all have a journey to walk, a path to go through. And mine just happened to be a little rough at the start, but I didn't give up. I didn't give up on myself, even when I felt there was nobody there with me. And hear me, I'm going to be completely honest with you. If I hadn't had a reason to better myself, I don't know if I would have sought that help, But my reason became me. I became the reason. I became the reason to seek help, because I didn't feel good with myself, and I knew I wasn't living to my true potential. There was something. It's like, when you are walking the path that you're supposed to walk, because you feel good. You feel like, this is where I need to be. You feel inspired. You feel motivated. You feel alive. But when you stop walking your path and you begin to walk on somebody else's drawn out path for you, you don't feel motivated. You don't feel willing. You feel like you're dragging, like, why do I feel like this? This isn't me. This sucks. I don't like this, and that's where I was. That was the path that I was in a long time. And it had to do because being raised by one parent, I was practically under her domain for a long time. And she dictated my life for a very long time. If it would, I would seek her approval, whether it was good or not. I would seek her approval. And as a kid, I guess you have no option but to follow your parent and to, just do what they say. But when you become an adult, you realize I no longer have to follow that or listen to them, especially if it's not fulfilling my heart, my soul. And that's when I just kind of I stopped walking that path that everybody else wanted me to walk. And I just started drawing my own. And I told myself, what do you want? As you walk down this journey, what do you want? And I want to heal. I want to heal myself. And then I want to help others heal. That's what I want. I want to reach out to others and just be their voice, their whisper. You got this. Because like I said, there was a lot of times where I felt alone. I didn't have anybody to go to. I didn't have any siblings. I didn't have a nana, a grandmother. Sometimes I see those relationships and I hear, oh, my mom is my best friend. Oh, I love my grandma. She is everything to me. And I always question that. What does that feel like? What does that feel like? And when I used to question that, I used to feel this ache in me because I never had it, and now I'm like, well, I wonder what it feels like. But I'm glad that they're experiencing that. I'm glad that you have that relationship with your mom. I'm glad that your mom's your best friend. That's great. Where before I was like, how did that happen? Why does she have a best mom as a best friend or a mom and I don't? Like I used to compare a lot. And, that's one thing that I stopped doing. Like stop comparing compare yourself to others because you are unique, just like your fingerprint. You are the only you. There's nobody else like you that thinks like you, that acts like you, that laughs like you. There's only you. So that's where I came down to. I was like, there's only me. Now I have to discover me. Who am I? Because my whole childhood up to my teens, I was told who I was. I wasn't allowed the opportunity to find out who I was. I wasn't allowed the opportunity to tap into or experience the things that used to like ignite my soul. You know, I look at contemporary dancing and I love it. And I wish I could have had that opportunity as a youngster to be a contemporary dancer. And I remember the time I told my mom that I wanted to dance. I told her, Mom, I want to be a dancer. I want to dance. I love feeling the music and moving to it. And I still remember her look. She looked at me and she's like, and you're going to make a career out of that? Like the way she said it was just so down to me that it made me say, well, yeah, maybe that's not such a smart thing to do. Maybe I should do what she wants me to do. And I never tapped into that passion of mine. Now, you know, I'm grown. I know I'm too old to be a contemporary dancer, but I still appreciate the dance. However, I put my dancing shoes and I dance to the beat of my own tune, my own rhythm. Nobody stops me from dancing now. And nobody tells me, or if they tell me, you're going to make something off that. It's like, for example, now when you ask, what's my future? And I tell you, I want to be an entrepreneur. There's people that I've told to that I want to do that. And they look at me like I'm weird. Like, what? How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And before I used to let that impact me. I used to let that be like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I'm thinking too broadly of this. Maybe it's not for me. Now, when I see them looking at me, I kind of chuckle inside and I'm like, oh, you don't believe me. But you know what? I believe me. And that's all that matters because I'm the one that needs to put in the work and the effort, not you. So you don't believe me, you don't have to. I believe myself, and that's all that matters.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Eternal Paradigm. Join me next time.